Welcome back to Hardball. The political group of Iraq and Afghanistan veterans, VoteVets.org, today posted a new internet ad on YouTube which captures that key moment in yesterday's testimony when General David Petraeus couldn't answer whether the war in Iraq is making us safer here. Let's take a look once more.
I frame the question in these stark terms.
Are we going to continue to invest American blood and treasure at the same rate we are doing now? For what?
If we continue what you have laid before the Congress here as a strategy, do you feel that that is making America safer?
Sir, I don't know, actually.
John Saltz is an Iraq War veteran and chairman of VoteVets.org. And Dante Zappala, is it Zappala, sir, or Zappala?
Zappala.
Zappala lost his brother, Sergeant Sherwood Baker, during the Iraq War. He's now a member of Gold Star family. Speak out. Let me ask you, Dante, when you watched General Petraeus yesterday find a problem with that question, is the war over there and all the hell that's going on, all the suffering and death, is it making us safer here at home? And he said, I haven't been able to figure that out. In fact, I haven't had my head around that question. What did you make of that?
Well, I found it very disappointing. I think we've been reduced to the level where we started, and that is that this war is being sold on people's fear. That's why we went into war. They tried to give us a bunch of different reasons about building democracy and other things, but we really come full circle now, and we're back to the fear factor. And if he can't tell Americans point blank that somehow the sacrifice of our finest in Iraq is making people here safer, then I can't understand why we're still in Iraq.
You know, John, I keep thinking about what he said. He was very impressive during his testimony until that fundamental question came up. And when he was talking about how there's and I thought he was very honest. He said there's 169,000 troops over there, men and women serving in various forces, and they each have their own view of the war. And you've heard that. You fought in wars. Absolutely. You know, you always read that Ernie Pyle stuff. Everybody's war is different than everybody else's. But I think it would be stunning if you're one of those 169,000 people over there facing harm every night and every day, to hear your general say you're not sure it's really worth it to your country.
Well, I think a lot of them already feel that way. If you look at the polls about
but aren't you? Let's talk about this general. When you hear the general say it.
I think what's interesting about him is that he's been sort of politicized. I mean, Admiral Fallon wasn't there, the central commander who controls the war in Afghanistan, who controls the war against al-Qaeda and bin Laden. The Secretary of Defense wasn't there, who can deploy these troops. So I think it is shocking for General Petraeus because he's been, you know, he's who the president is hiding behind. And so that is staggering for him, who they are using as the complete credibility for the war in Iraq to say something that the war on terror is basically not focused on a security element, and that's telling us we're not in the right direction.
Dante, you lost a brother. Let me ask you about this sales pitch we're watching this week. It really is a dog and pony show. Very elaborate hearings. We're seeing a rollout of the new sales pitch. We're seeing the president coming on television Thursday night, all in coordination with the marking of 9/11. Very impressive creation of a attitude. Is it working with you?
No, I feel like I'm back in 2003 and Colin Powell's in front of the UN trying to spin this war. As you may know, my brother was sent to Iraq to work with the Iraq Survey Group. So he was actually looking for weapons of mass destruction when he was killed, and it was long after we knew that they did not exist. And so I think about what did he die for? And if he died for anything, it's so this never happens again, that they don't trump evidence and reason for ideology and some negligent policy.
Let me ask you about General Petraeus himself. I remember years ago watching All in the Family, and Edith Bunker kept saying, Proxmire, Proxmire. All I ever hear is Proxmire. He, of course, was the senator from Wisconsin. All I ever heard for the last 3 months is Petraeus, Petraeus, right. Petraeus, Petraeus. And Petraeus is an officer serving in the field. He's a field rank officer, but he is serving in the field and carrying out the orders of this commander-in-chief. Why does this president keep saying, I'm waiting to hear the Petraeus plan, when the Petraeus plan has to be the orders he was cut by the president?
It's because this is a political strategy, sir. This is all this is. This is about the president handing this war off to the next commander-in-chief. This is why we're going to draw down troops next April, because we don't have enough troops, and because that's the way he ensures, as we all know from the book that came out last week, that he wants to hand this to the next president. He's punted the football, and he wants to hand the hot potato to the Democrats, and then they want to lower 30,000 troops so Republican members of Congress and the Republican nominee can show that they're making progress towards leaving Iraq. This is a political strategy driven by domestic politics here at home and not by the situation on the ground.
Okay, let's talk about the politics here at home. Dante, you have friends who are probably pro-war. What do they say?
I don't have many friends that are pro-war. It's hard to find folks that are pro-war. But I think that really fundamentally, and it's a very, very real feeling that people are afraid, and they want to know that they're safe. And I think that our guys, our men and women in uniform, will lay down their life, sacrifice their own families to protect ours. And if that was truly what was happening here, I think we'd all be right behind them. In fact, many of us would probably be in Iraq right now taking up arms. But you see that that's not happening, and that's not the objective out there. And so, you know, when I think that the people that are pro-war, that their arguments are falling faster than I can say.
You hear that, John?
I agree.
I wonder, because we got NBC poll data that shows, you know, a modest uptick. We're going to have more on that later tonight. I wonder whether this PR campaign, we had Jerry Delafamina, one of the top ed men in the country, thinking that the president's wholesale rollout this week is working, putting the men in uniform out there, putting out the State Department guy, having the president go on television, is pushing this war effectively, that this is working, like it or not. What do you think?
It's working because he's not playing to win. He's only playing not to lose. So all he has to do is hold his line politically. He has to hold the Republicans. He has to hold Norm Coleman. He has to hold Susan Collins. We lobby in Congress all the time. Every day we're going to have 40 Iraq vets from VoteVets.org down here next week knocking on doors. But the question is how much time do they give him? And, you know, this is about election and it's about voting politics. And they're going to hold that line just enough. They put $15 million in there, and we're going to fight hard and try to break them. But listen, it's very difficult. They're trying to hide behind a man who's got medals on his chest, a man who served this country honorably. And he is, and successfully. It's wrong, it's unethical.
The court-martial Billy Mitchell, this goes back beyond Ollie North. This is very impressive stagecraft.
This is another spin, just like...
Well, you know, stagecraft's not going to make this war any easier to fight or less bloody. Anyway, thank you, John Sullivan. Thank you for your family sacrifice, Dante. Still ahead, the Hardball debate, 2 sex scandals concerning 2 Republican senators.